Barris had nothing left on Earth. The colony lottery ticket clutched in his calloused hand represented his last hope, a one-way trip to Kepler 442b, where the Confederation was offering free land in territories abandoned by the Catharan species after their mysterious exodus. No questions asked. No background checks for a man trying to outrun his past. The shuttle dropped him at the coordinates with a promise to return in 6 months. As the engines faded into the alien sky, Barris stood before the outpost, a massive structure of obsidian-like material that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Catharan had left in a hurry 70 years ago, leaving behind cities, technology, and questions that still haunted xenoarchaeologists across the galaxy. He didn't care about mysteries. He cared about survival. The outpost's entrance recognized his biometrics. The Confederation had uploaded human DNA signatures to all abandoned sites. Inside, the air was stale but breathable. Emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows through corridors that stretched into darkness. The Catharan had been tall, nearly 9 feet, and their architecture made Barris feel like a child in a giant's home. He spent the first week making the central hub livable. The technology was alien but intuitive. Panels responded to touch, holographic interfaces translated themselves into broken English. Water systems activated, hydroponics bays hummed to life, filled with desiccated remains of Catharan crops. Barris planted earth seeds he'd brought, tomatoes, beans, wheat. The soil synthesizers accepted them without complaint. It was during the second week that he found her. The door had been sealed, marked with Catharan symbols his translator rendered as medical quarantine, level 5. Barris's curiosity, dormant for years under layers of regret and alcohol, stirred. He overrode the lock. The chamber was a cryogenic facility. Dozens of pods lined the walls, all empty and dark except one. Its display pulsed with a faint blue light, active after 70 years. Inside, suspended in translucent gel, was a Catharan female. She was beautiful in an utterly alien way, iridescent skin that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue, forearms folded across her chest. A face that was almost humanoid but stretched, angular with large eyes beneath closed lids. The display identified her Melissa. Medical officer, neural degradation syndrome, stage 4. Cryostasis, initiated, standard year 2087. Barris stood frozen. The Catharan had abandoned their colonies because of a plague, a neural disease that drove entire populations mad before killing them. The few survivors had fled into deep space and no one had heard from them since. This female Melissa had been left behind. The human thing to do, the reasonable thing, would be to leave her. Report it to the Confederation. Let the xenobiologist handle it. But as Barris stared at the sleeping alien, he saw himself reflected in the pod's surface, another abandoned soul in an empty place. He accessed the medical database. The Catharan had been close to a cure when the evacuation order came. The synthesis required materials, time, and a level of scientific knowledge Barris didn't possess. But the automated systems could handle most of it. All it needed was someone to authorize the procedure, to take responsibility. Stupid, he muttered. But his fingers were already moving across the holographic interface. The outpost came alive with purpose. Manufacturing bays that had been silent for decades roared to operation. The AI walked him through each step, synthesizing compounds, running simulations. Barris worked 18-hour days learning Catharan biology, understanding their neural chemistry. His past life faded. The man who had lost everything on Earth became someone else, someone with a purpose. 3 months later, the serum was ready. Barris stood before Melissa's pod, syringe in hand, or rather the Catharan equivalent, a device that would inject directly through the cryogel. His hands trembled. If he was wrong, he'd kill her. If he was right, he'd wake an alien who might see him as an invader, a pest in her home. He administered the cure. The pod's display flickered. Melissa's vital signs spiked, then stabilized. Her eyes, 3 pupils in each arranged in a triangle, snapped open. They fixed on Barris with an intelligence that made his breath catch. The cryogel drained. The pod opened with a hiss. Melissa stumbled forward and Barris caught her, all 4 of her arms gripping his shoulders with desperate strength. She was twice his height, but in that moment she was just another frightened person waking into a world that had left her behind. "Easy," Barris said softly. "You're safe. You're cured." Her translator implant activated, and when she spoke, her voice was a symphony of harmonic tones that the device rendered into accented English. How long? 70 years. Her legs gave out. Barris helped her to a bench, grabbed water. She drank it awkwardly, as if remembering how. My people? Gone. I'm sorry. Melissa's face was unreadable, but her upper arms wrapped around herself, a gesture of grief that transcended species. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, she looked at him. You are human. Yes, you cured me. Why? Barris thought about his answer, about the things he'd run from, about finding purpose in the most unlikely place. Because I could. Because you deserved a chance. Melissa's expression shifted, something that might have been a smile on her alien features. The humans we studied were selfish, destructive. The Confederation told us you were the galaxy's greatest threat. Maybe most of us are, Barris admitted. But maybe some of us are trying to be better. She extended one of her hands, a gesture she must have learned from human databases. Barris took it. Her skin was cool, smooth, alive. Thank you, Barris, Melissa said, reading his name from the Outpost logs. You have given me tomorrow. What will you do with yours? He looked around the outpost, no longer abandoned, no longer just a place to hide. I guess we'll figure that out together. Outside, Kepler 442b's twin moons rose over alien horizons. Inside, a human and a Catherine sat together in the darkness, two survivors building something new from the ruins of what had been lost. The galaxy had written them both off, but humanity's greatest strength had never been its weapons or its numbers. It was its stubborn, stupid, beautiful refusal to give up, on itself or on anyone else. Even aliens who had been left behind.